Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Castle. I'm calling you from British Columbia, Canada, where it's a balmy 9 degrees outside. And I'm a former member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and I've been a CPTED instructor and practitioner and instructor trainer since 1995. My role in this CREATE initiative in Jamaica is to deliver the CPTED training to JCF officers, people who in the community that would like to have this type of training, and I'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks in Jamaica. So I thought what we would do here is just give you a quick background on what's happened in the past and what we're going to be doing in the future as far as CPTED training in Jamaica. So in 2023, I applied for and was successful in a consultancy role in delivering CPTED training in Jamaica at the latter part of 2023. I did 2 courses of a week long, with just JCF officers, and the process was to teach them the CPTED principles, but also make them instructors so that they could go out and deliver CPTED training to other officers and people in the public. The 2 courses ran, like I say, 1 week each over 2 weeks, and we ended up getting 27 officers through the program. And this is now the next step where we're going to take the CPTED concepts and take them further out within the communities to other folks that might be interested in taking this, other JCF officers that might be interested in taking this, and so on. So I'm going to tell you quickly about the training so you have an idea what was done and what is coming. But the CPTED course wasn't just sitting in a classroom watching PowerPoints all day. That's just not my style. What they did was they had to do a variety of different presentations. They had to go out into the communities and look at properties and so on. They had to design communities like you see in the drawing on the left, where they had to actually design a community from the ground up. This is before it's been built. In some cases these are done before they're built, or it can be done after they're built and showing plan to reconstruct a neighborhood, a town, or even just a neighborhood so that it's less attractive to criminals. Like I said, they did have to go out, and they had to, these are photos from officers who did the course, and they had to go out twice. They had to go out during the day to see this property, and then they went out again at nighttime to look at the same property and try to come up with CPTED principles that might make these places less attractive to criminals. As you go through these, you'll see that there's just different versions of it, day and night, and as they looked at them, they came back and had to do a presentation about what they would do to make this property less attractive by putting lights in, putting a better fences up, cutting down trees, or whatever it may be, depending on what the property characteristics were that they've seen. Or they could actually find a property that had CPTED principles in them, and therefore they could say, this is what they've done and it seems to be working because there's little crime here, etc. It was a great exercise. We even went to a park where we went and saw that it was really run down, and you could tell there was drug activity there, and so we thought, well, what can we do to fix this? And so they learned about not only identifying properties, but other ways that could be the properties could be fixed to make them less attractive to criminals. And this is all as a result of what happened in Medellin, Colombia. This was a success story using CPTED principles where there was a 90% drop in murder rate there because CPTED was initiated. Not only CPTED, I mean, there was other activities like involvement with the police, involvement with the communities, and so on. But CPTED played a key role in this, and we're thinking that this would work out really well in Jamaica, where we could take the same ideas that were done in Colombia and bring them here to Jamaica. So this is what the next step is, and so we're going to try to get the message out about CPTED throughout the communities in Jamaica. So what exactly is CPTED? If you look at this photograph here, you'll see there's a parking lot with a car in it. Now, people that are working late and they have to walk out to their car at night might feel a little uncomfortable with this scenario because it's not very bright. We don't know what's in the dark areas and behind or in front of the car. So the physical environment that we'd like to change here to make the people that are walking to their cars more attractive. They don't want to be jumped from behind, for example, by somebody trying to accost them as they're going to their car. So we're just basically changing the environmental conditions, and that could be everything from fixing a light bulb, changing fixtures. That's the physical side of it. Then there's also the community side of it, which we'll get into here in a minute. So we're trying to make it where the property is less attractive to criminals. Because you think about this photo here, a criminal that wants to, grabs the lady's purse or jump somebody to do something bad is also going to look at it and say, this is a good spot because nobody can see me. And that's what we're trying to fix. It all started with Jane Jacobs back in the 70s when she wrote this book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities. If you haven't read this book, you should really look at it. And the bottom line is what she wanted to do is combine neighborhoods with businesses. Because if you think of a city, you got your businesses over here on this side of town, and then you got your residences over here. And so what ends up happening is you got people downtown during the day doing the business shopping, and then they all go home. Similar to what you're seeing in this photograph here. In this photograph here, see, it's a vibrant city. There's lots of people around. They're on their way to doing whatever, and they feel safe. There's lots of people keeping an eye on each other. But look at the same sort of street at nighttime. There's a couple of people walking around because they're all home on the other side of town. So what Jane Jacobs said is, let's try to combine the two. So have some residential properties and businesses all within the same area. And therefore, there's people out and about all the time because they're one from their house to the stores downtown, and then the stores are going to be feeling safe because there's always people around kind of keeping an eye on them. That's where it kind of started. And then this book came out by C. Ray Jeffrey, indicating that the actual title of CPTED, which is Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, and he had a series of principles, which are the basis from which we deliver my training courses when we do them. So there's two generations of principles. This is the first generation principles. One is territoriality, territorial control, natural surveillance, image and milieu, and access control. Very briefly, what they mean is territorial enforcement. How do we enforce my territory? Well, I put up a fence. That's one way. But fences don't always work. Because if you look at this particular property in Jamaica, if you were going to go to this pharmacy here to get some medications or something, would the person feel comfortable knowing that the rest of this building is in such poor repair? So it's great. I'm not saying don't have fences. Absolutely have fences. But if it's in an area or a piece of the property that makes it less attractive, people are going to say, that looks too dicey for me, I'm not going to go there, then territorial enforcement needs to be a little softer. And that's some of the things we'll be talking about in the course. The natural surveillance is the next one. This is where this lady sitting here having her cup of coffee in the morning looks out the window, just contemplating life or whatever, and she sees a vehicle parked over there. Say, why is that vehicle there? I've never seen that one before. And she makes note of it. Not only is she making note of it, but because there's windows all across this structure, the people in the car are saying, hold on now, I'm not going to go here because everybody can see me, and they're going to go somewhere else. So the surveillance is putting legitimate eyes on the street and gives the impression of the criminals the impression that they're being watched. Now, this lady isn't specifically looking for criminals. She's not a police officer or something, but she sees things that are the ordinary. She'll make a note of it, and either she reports it, or somewhere along the line she's a witness to help out catch the people that did bad things. Image and maintenance, or images milieu, is what we're talking about next. This is where you just want to clean stuff up. Get it clean, well maintained, get rid of the graffiti, any kind of garbage, junk like that's laying around, even cutting back brush and hedges and things just to make it so it's more attractive. And the last one is access control. We talked about that briefly, where you can put up a fence, put up a padlock. Could be anything. Something that you can control access into your property. It doesn't have to be as overt as this, where you've got 10-foot fences and barbed wire on the top, and you've got big gates. Might be necessary, but again, if we follow Jane Jacobs' suggestions, this wouldn't be necessary because everybody be around the neighborhood and the criminals aren't going to break in there, for example. The second generation principles are these: social cohesion, community culture, connectivity, and threshold capacity. Very briefly on these, you've got social cohesion. This is where you're trying to develop and enhance positive social relations with residents. Now, this is done by residents for residents, and the law enforcement role is in there, but not nearly as focused on the law enforcement side. The law enforcement people are encouraging neighbors, communities, entire towns to adopt some of these programs, and they're all very successful. Neighborhood Watch, drug-free zones. Another big one right now is coming along, been along for a long time, is Citizens on Patrol. Block watch. So if everybody's aware of what's kind of going on and has these principles that we talked about in the first generation principles, like natural surveillance, bad guys are all going to know that there's people watching them, and they're going to go somewhere else. Hopefully they'll stop, but we all know that that's probably not completely likely. But if they go somewhere else, then their neighborhoods are safe. But if the whole city is adopting this, then the people are going to say, oh man, I can't do this, because everybody in the city is now aware of what's going on, and they're going to stop. They're going to be seeing what I'm doing. So it's a huge thing. It's very successful. Community culture, this is where you're going to have people to get together for a sense of community, where you get people together like you see here, walking down this alley, looking to see if there's ways we can clean this up. You're not walking alone, you're with a bunch of people in your entire community, and say, what can we do to enhance the image of this particular alley in this case? That doesn't have to be just this kind of thing. It can be art festivals, music festivals, sporting events, something that can bring all the cultures together. Closely related to that is connectivity, and this is where you're going to be having a group of people getting together all the time, but you're losing what we call not in my backyard syndrome. You think about it, if there's a group of people that want to get together and have a party, for example, like a block party, we're going to invite everybody except that bunch over there, whatever that bunch might be, whether it be ethnic or whatever. And they just don't want those people around. So what we're trying to say is, by connecting and being more inclusive to the neighbors, then everybody feels involved, and therefore they're not going to be any exclusions. Therefore everybody gets along. Therefore the whole social structure gets to be stronger. The last one is threshold capacity. And if you look at the gentleman on the left there, his name is Gregory Seville. He was my instructor back in the day, and he is a key component of the International CPTED Association, which I'm a member of. And he speaks to the idea of diversity, having multi-level land and things like socializing in the parks, participating in sports, as you see in the photo here. People are going to be getting together. Maybe a law enforcement officer is a soccer coach and takes kids to the school and plays soccer with them, or he's one of several people that gets involved in this. It doesn't only have to be police. Everybody has to kind of step up. And if we're keeping the kids occupied, as is in this case, then they're not thinking about the drugs and the gangs and all the other things. And this is what they're professing with this threshold capacity. So you can see that the social factors is a huge piece to this now. Getting together like a meeting like you see here. It's also building on the environment. So these folks might be sitting around talking about the problem in their neighborhood, and CPTED practitioners are going to say, okay, yeah, that's definitely a problem. What should we do to fix it? Well, we need to set up a neighborhood watch. We need to put better lighting on the street. And all this stuff is discussed, and the people in the audience are not just listening and throwing ideas out and or complaining. They have to be a part of it. And this is what CPTED and Jane Jacobs and Greg Seville are talking about. We need to get these people, all of these people, involved. And that's the social side of it. So one last piece here is the CPTED in specific locations, as in schools. I did a presentation about 3 weeks ago, and I said this, and I'll say it to you folks very quickly. I'm going to give you something from the following description, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Building use to accommodate people, surrounded by fencing, metal detectors at entrances, patrolled by armed personnel, and a site of violence and illegal activities such as drug use and gangs. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? And many people in the group suggested that, well, it's a prison, it's a jail. Well, no, this is what the schools are. The schools are becoming havens for criminal activity. So what we're suggesting is use CPTED principles early, get the kids engaged in this so they know what to look for, not only in their schools, but they can take it forward when they get out of school and already have the mindset that this is what is not right, and we need to try to make some changes to make this better. So as a result of that, the International CPTED Association has come up with CPTED in schools. This is where you would go into the schools, either law enforcement people or the teachers or any other CPTED practitioner, and go in and start educating kids at a young age about the CPTED principles and to be prepared for them when they, while they're in school and when they get out. So these are the types of things that are being thrown around, ideas that are being suggested to make it where the message gets out. Because I don't believe, and I don't like calling CPTED a program. Like you think about Neighborhood Watch or Crime Stoppers or anything, those are programs that are used within usually in a law enforcement community. CPTED has to be a way of thinking. When you go through a building or you go to a house as a law enforcement officer or even somebody driving by, you look at the property and say, what could we do to make that less attractive? What do we need to do to get rid of this crime problem, etc. So it's a state of mind rather than a program. All right, that's all I had. I just wanted to make sure you have a good idea, a background of what this, what we're creating here, if you'll pardon the pun, and why we're doing this. And if you have any questions, by all means, you can certainly ask. If I'm able to get online, the reason I'm doing this recording is I may not be able to get online due to the distance. So I've recorded this just in case I can't. But I should be able to answer questions to you if through email, which is going to be provided to the people who are hosting this this meeting. And if I can get live, then I'll answer them directly. And I want to thank you for your attention for the next 15 minutes. Have a great day.